You're tuned to CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg. We're a campus community radio station located in the University of Winnipeg at 515 Portage Avenue. Our transmitter is located in Osborne Village, broadcasting with 450 watts of power 24/7. The wide variety of music on this radio station won't be played anywhere else. All the programming is done by volunteers from our community. If you want to get in touch with us, give us a call at 786-9782 or email us at ckuw@uwinnipeg.ca.
Welcome, Winnipeg. You are now listening to the Alternation on CKUW 95.9 FM.
All right, we're going to start things off with some Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly from their debate. Check this out. This was from 2012 this year. Check it out.
I think they're ready. Rather than flip a coin, Mr. O'Reilly decided he goes first.
Okay.
Many pundits, and you know who you are, say that this is the most important election in a generation. Republicans say that voters should ask themselves, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Now, President Obama can point to a declining unemployment rate. Mr. Romney claims that the Obama policies created the most sluggish recovery in history, and if continued, will make it even worse. So, Bill, do you think people will make their choice based on the economy?
I don't care. First of all, how's the air conditioning in here? Is all right? Everybody comfortable? Everybody? If you want it turned up a little, just tell Stuart. We'll take care of it. All right? Now, I'm going to have a little 3-minute opening, and then he'll mock it, okay? Remember a few weeks ago that the tape broke where Governor Romney was saying that 47% of Americans are slackers, all right? They're not cutting it, as Clint Eastwood would say, they're not cutting it, all right? Well, he was off by about 27%, about 27. About 20% of us are slackers, and it's a growing industry. And that is what the election's all about. That's what the country's facing right now. We are spending an enormous amount of money on 20% who, for whatever reason, we're just not going to cut it. We're not going to make a living. We're not going to really do anything. We want our stuff. And we're spending a lot of money. Debt is bad. Debt is bad. All right? $16 trillion in debt. President Obama, who I like, by the way, and who is dodging me on a 1-on-1 basketball game. Did you know that? Yeah. Dodging it. I like him. Biggest spending president by far in the history of the United States. In fact, President Obama has spent more money than all of the other presidents combined if you take out World War II, which we had to spend a little money there, okay? All of them. So Martin Van Buren is going, why? Why? Now, the reason that the president will tell you he's spending a lot of money is because of Bush. It's Bush's fault. How many people think it's Bush's fault? Bush is gone. Adios, sayonara, aloha. It's boring. He's gone. Okay? Out of there. It may have been Bush's fault for the first year, maybe 2, but not 3.5. Now, and this is the final part of my opening statement, the poster person for the entitlement society is Sandra Fluck. You know Sandra? I left 2 tickets for Sandra, plus a month's supply of birth control pills at will call. Is she here tonight? No, she's not. Sandra, buy your own coupon. Right? We shouldn't be paying for this or a lot of other stuff. That's why we owe $16 trillion. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for me.
You say, Mr. Stewart.
My friend Bill O'Reilly is completely full of shit. Now, he and I agree this country does face some problems. We do have some issues. What we disagree on is the scope of these issues and the cause of these issues and the timing of these issues. I believe we have very complex problems in this country, like we have had in this country low since its inception. What is wrong with this country is not that we face problems that we have not faced before. We face a deficiency in our problem-solving mechanism. And the reason we face a difficulty in our problem-solving mechanism is that a good portion of this country has created an alternate universe in which the issues that we face revolve around a woman from Georgetown who wanted birth control, which is a health issue for women, covered on her health insurance in the same way that Viagra is covered for many others. I call this alternate reality, I call this place where these folks live Bullshit Mountain. The denizens of Bullshit Mountain believe many things. They believe that a Kenyan Muslim president has fundamentally changed the relationship between government and the people of this country. On Bullshit Mountain, they believe that if they built it, it was because of their success and a little quick moxie and freedom juice. But if life hasn't worked out for them, it is the government on their back. Oh, Bullshit Mountain is a dangerous place. Not to mention the winters on Bullshit Mountain. Oh, the winters on Bullshit Mountain are long and cold. And Christmas, the most ubiquitous holiday in the history of mankind, is under threat on Bullshit Mountain because somewhere, somehow, a parade in Tulsa has changed its name from Christmas to holiday. I have come here tonight to plead to the mayor of Bullshit Mountain talk to your people. Now, I know that you don't live on Bullshit Mountain year-round. You obviously have to leave for provisions, and I believe you have a summer place. But until we can agree on a reality that exists in this country, you and those denizens believe that we face a cataclysm, a societal cataclysm between freedom and socialism. And on Bullshit Mountain, our problems are amplified and our solutions simplified. And that's why they won't work. We face a debt crisis that we've never faced before. We are merely weeks from being a failed state or even worse, Greece. And the way to solve it is to kill Big Bird. Now, let me say this. That is not a solution. And I believe tonight we will take you down from the mountain. And you can come live amongst the people once again. Thank you.
I don't really have a minute to reply? That's all I really need.
1 minute.
All right.
All right. Well, we're back. After that little clip from Jon Stewart and Bill O'Reilly, their debate that they had on cable TV. And someone put that up on YouTube, so we were able to play a clip of their opening arguments, I suppose you'd call them. Hi, my name is Mr. Levin. You're listening to the Alternation on CKAW 95.9 FM. This is a eclectic show that we do every Friday night from 10:30 to midnight. And I'm joined today by some guests. We have Mr. Marcel. Hello.
Hi there, Levin. How you doing?
And we have Miss Amanda here. Hello.
How are you?
Good. We are going to be talking a bit about communities and social issues and where government and poverty meet, I guess, is some of the things we'll be talking about tonight. So, strap in and get comfortable. And we're also joined by Miss Erin tonight, who's going to be helping us out on the production end of things. Hello, Miss Erin.
Hello.
Did you want to play a song to start the show off with?
Absolutely, yes.
What do you want to play?
We're going to bust out some Creep Show with Sell Your Soul.
All right, so check it out. This is The Creep Show on CKW 95.9 FM.
Well, everyone except yourself is to blame. You say you're not satisfied. Well, okay. Well, you can linger on like a lifeless little bond. Or you can have it all, everything you crave. Money, pleasure, rock, and leather, fortune, and fame. Everything inside yourself is rotting away. You've almost hit rock bottom and you've weathered again. So you can linger on as a lifeless little bond. Or you can have it all, everything you crave. Money, pleasure, rock, and leather, fortune, and fame.
Well, you made a deal with the devil, and now your soul is mine. You sold it for eternity when you signed that dotted line. You will taste the bullet of another gun when it comes down to the end. So long, farewell, I'll see you when I'm have another gun when it comes down to the end. So long, farewell, I'll see you when I'm my friend.
Everything except yourself is to blame. Again, you say you're not satisfied. What will it take? Well, you can have it all, everything you crave. Money, pleasure, rock, and leather, fortune, and fame. So catch and ride upon the devil's hellbound train. Eternity in hell will be the price you pay. Sell or save or sell your soul.
I was raised on a dirt road, ghost town, stray dogs, whole nine, the gold mine closed down. I knew the woods like the back of my hand, and I would shoot the breeze with the roots of trees. Or go down by the river and watch the way the devil dances, but never took his hand, even though I did have several chances. Everybody slept when the morning dew turned to frost. Darkness moved in and somebody burned a cross. A girl named Stella Kuhn was prettier than you'd imagine. The town should have given her the crown for the beauty pageant. But instead, some local pinheads started spreading rumors about the Kuhns being inbreds. And what's worse, people believed it, because the family was dirt poor and down on their luck. So that made it hurt more. Picking up garbage and mowing the grass. At this point, Stella stopped going to class. You know how they ridicule a kid in school, and this shit's enough to make anybody feel like a misfit. She made herself invisible and hid inside a house of mirrors. Whenever the fear stops, so do the teardrops, but fear is forever, and lies become legend. Growing, eventually, slowly, exponentially, she should have been a cover girl, treated like a princess. But she's an enigma, haunted by the stigma of incest. She tried to hide the scars. Her name reminds me of the stars. I saw diamonds divide in the corners of her eyes. She tried to hide the scars. Her name reminds me of the stars I saw diamonds divide in the corners of her eyes. One horse town, known for the most softness. Little old schoolhouse, burned down post office. Blueberries and bulrushes, a tree with a tire swing. Volunteer, fireman's fair, the whole entire thing. Stella was heartbroken, decided to start smoking. Bad taste in her mouth, she grew into a sad face. Her few friends were worried, and her parents were always proud of her. But she never escaped from under the cloud cover. A woman reduced, she was eaten by a monster. And after all these years have passed, it still haunts her. It whispers her name when she's trying instead to just listen to music when she's lying in bed. Now the story of Stella is one that every child knows, but the witch in the woods is more like a wild rose. Mount Uniac. She tried to hide the scars. Her name reminds me of the stars I saw diamonds divide in the corners of her eyes. She tried to hide the scars. Her name reminds me of the stars I saw diamonds divide in the corners of her eyes.
All right, we are back here at Alternation Central. I'm Mr. Levin. I'm joined with Mr. Marcel, and we have we're talking about community issues today. So Marcel's got a guest that he's brought today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Levin. It's kind of a community current event that's going on right now. My full name is Marcel of the Family Bassett, and I'm one of the founding members of Peacemaker Society. We have a lot of community programs and advocacy programs, and through those, we heard of something that's actually going on in the Maples area in the Elwick community. There's a flyer distributed, and in that flyer, it invited tenants of Manitoba Housing in the Elwick community to come to a security meeting where they were discussing imposing a form of curfew. From my understanding, it's basically for children 12 and under if they're out past 8. I believe it's 8 p.m. It's either 8 or 9 p.m. Our guest Amanda can clarify on that in a moment. But basically what happens is private security is enforcing a curfew that's basically illegal. Police aren't able to enforce it, and when they bring children home, if there's any alcohol or marijuana or anything like that, even if there's no danger to the child, the security services are able to basically seize the child and get CFS involved. So basically we took an opportunity through the people that were coming to our society to speak out about this and talk to us about it, is just to get a little bit more of an accurate perspective from the other side. So we heard of this wonderful woman named Amanda who does a ton of work in the community, and she also happens to have some knowledge in regards to what's happening with this curfew. She, from my understanding, is a block parent, does citizen patrols, a whole bunch of stuff in her community. Well, so I'm going to allow her to kind of...
Yeah, let's let Amanda introduce herself. So tell us about yourself, Amanda.
My name's Amanda, and I work...
hold on 1 second. Sorry, Amanda. Let me just make sure your mic is all right. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Hi. My name's Amanda, and I do work in the Elwick community. As Marcel said, I'm very involved in the community. I work in the school division in that community. I also coordinate the citizens on patrol that he spoke of, and I am also a block parent, and I run our Elwick Community Center. I'm the director at large for that building. So I am very involved in the community and the housing itself.
Yeah, well, let me just commend you right there. That's an ample amount of work to do in one's community.
Thank you.
Agreed.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about this curfew. When did you find out about it? And yeah, well, I'll start with when did you find out about it?
I was told about it in September, and back earlier in the year, I was actually a tenant in the housing. So coming September, no longer being in the units, I got to just hear about it. And I also did see a flyer that Marcel said he also saw, and it was just to have a meeting of tenants to come together and talk about implementing a curfew for their children for under the age of 12. From what I do know, the meeting occurred. turned out great with the few people that did show up. And as a group, they came to a decision that they would like to implement this curfew for their children for just in the Manitoba housing tenants, and for safety issues and any other concerns that they felt were there.
So why would they need a curfew in that housing project as opposed to needing one in any other neighborhood?
With low economic in the community, there is issues due to gangs. There's issues due with just the children in general. So the issue was trying to keep the younger children off the streets so they didn't get involved with the gangs, and that they were safe at least at home.
All right, but how does a policy like this, when they enforce it, how does it affect the community?
I believe that it has given some people a sense of safety for their children themselves. And then other people have found that it's just a way of somebody else telling them how to raise their children.
Okay.
If I could weigh in for one moment,
Yes.
a lot of times when the system, at least as far as our society work has gone in studying this, a lot of times safety and security are the two words that get thrown around. As much as it sounds like, yes, we want to protect our children, and obviously that's very true, you just have to be careful about how we as a community go about doing it. And what I mean by that is, once you actually understand what unalienable rights are and that they come from within, unless you cause harm, no one has the right to infringe on those rights. We're going to get into that a little bit more in coming segments as far as how this curfew affects families and some of the actions that they may take after that. But there's a very famous quote that just simply says, and I'll sum up with this: those who trade safety and security, freedom for safety and security, wind up with neither. And although I kind of messed it up a little bit, that is the quote.
So who actually enforces this curfew? How does it get enforced?
It's enforced through the Manitoba Housing Security, which is a private security company that Manitoba Housing employs. And there is a security line that people may call to state that they have seen a child that's out and they do know where they live. Once that call's made, if housing security does find the child, they'll take the child back to their residence and let the parents know that they are out past curfew and they do need to stay in.
Okay. Anything you want to say? Anything more about this?
Just in our research that our society was doing into this, and some of the community members that we did speak to in the Elwick community, they mentioned that one of the things that can happen is if mom and dad are at home and maybe having one or two beers, not thoroughly intoxicated, but having a few drinks, or maybe if they smoke a little marijuana on the side, but there's no danger to the children, private security can use that as a means, and they're actually seizing the child and getting CFS involved. As an isolated incident, people may not see that as a big deal, but something that's coming up next year that ties right into that, with the new football stadium opening, people who live in that neighborhood, there's going to be police barricades that you now have to show ID to get back into your own neighborhood. So it's again, private security in the Manitoba housing, and then police forces just starting to arbitrarily kind of set precedents similar to what you saw in the beginning of Germany in World War II and those kind of things, where it's just, unless you caused harm, no one has the right to ask you for your ID, never mind detain you, never mind destroy your family by getting CFS involved.
So are there actual, do these security companies patrol the area, or do they just respond to calls when parents call?
No, they patrol the area. I don't know what their daily routine is, but they do patrol the area. You will see them frequently. They either drive or do walk, and then answer any calls that have come in.
And if they're patrolling the area and they find kids that are out past 8 p.m., they bring them home. That's the idea?
Yeah. If they are not Manitoba housing tenants, then they're asked to leave property.
Okay. And so the point is that once they bring them home, they may or may not contact CFS, depending on whether the security people feel that the tenants are doing a good job of raising their kids.
Parenting,
is that the idea?
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the concern. You're talking about an outside agency that doesn't necessarily understand the needs of the community, essentially making assessments about
that was some of our parents' concerns, where wintertime it wasn't an issue. It's dark by 6 o'clock. But summertime, it's 10 o'clock. And, for some of us, we still sit outside with our kids at 8 p.m. when it's daylight. So to tell them that they have to be in a 11 or 12-year-old by 8 p.m. is, you're kind of coming to a crossing of a line, so...
All right, well, we're going to talk more about agencies and how they get involved with communities in the next segment, but we're going to jump to some music now. All right, Miss Erin, what do we got coming up next?
Gonna bust out some Aqueduct with a song called The Suggestion Box.
All right, do you want to dedicate that one to anyone?
No.
No. All right, so here is Aqueduct, The Suggestion Box on CKW 95.9 FM. This is the Alternation.
In 1984, in the Levi's that you wore, homo immortal realize, some don't materialize, some lovers never meet. My mistake on the street, I hang you there on the mantle by the stairs beside the litho of Lord Black who never bloody called me back.
Pipe and Hut Records, CKUW 95.9 FM, UMFM 101.5 FM, and the West End Cultural Center presents Mise en Scene, Desire Despair's album launch, Saturday, December 1st at the WEC, with guests, The Noble Thieves. Doors open at 7:15 p.m., show starts at 8. Tickets are $20 in advance and $25 at the door. Available at the West End Cultural Center, Ticketmaster, Music Trader, and the Winnipeg Folk Festival Music Store.
1, 2, 3.
You lie so well. Now come back and say it twice. You're out on the library trying to believe in this hell of sailing in mashed up food. Tell me, how is it brewed and we bathe? See, now us won't believe your empathy. You'll let you sink your talents into we won't. That's the muscles that have you tick. Mine's gonna let you all down. Nurse, nurse, I'm turning into plastic. Get back here quicker, I swear I'll call the cops. Come on, nurse, nurse, my feet have turned to plastic. Get back here and do your job. Why so suspicious of all of our methods here? Think that we're causing you pain, but know that we'll always love you and make sure you're happy. Go on and say the same, and then please don't regret insanity. It makes you so endearable to we won't. That's the muscles that have you tick. Mine's gonna let you all down. Nurse, nurse, I'm turning into plastic. Get back here quicker, I swear I'll call the cops. Come on, nurse, nurse, my feet have turned to plastic. Get back here. screaming, nurse, nurse, I'm turning into plastic. Get back here quick or I swear I'll call the cops. Come on, nurse, nurse, my feet have turned to plastic. Get back here and do your job. Nurse, nurse, I'm turning into plastic. Get back here quick or I swear I'll call the cops. Come on, nurse, nurse, my feet have turned to plastic. Get back here and do your job.
All right, and it's time to talk about the weather in Winnipeg. It is currently minus 19 degrees in Winnipeg, and we're expecting a low tonight of minus 15. And tomorrow, Saturday, we can expect a high of minus 4 and a low of minus 14. That is your weather update here on the Alternation, brought to you by CKW 95.9 FM and The Sun. So keep listening. We're going to hear Subsidy Dwellers. This track is called Gasoline. Thank you for tuning in.
us at all.
You're listening to the Alternation on CKW 95.9 FM.
I'm from a big family, 8 kids. Yeah. We had to call our stuff in the house every day. You know, you have to call your possessions, claim your territory. Like if you got it from your chair to make a sandwich, you had to claim it. You know, I call that chair. That's what we would do. I call that chair. It's my chair. I call that chair. Hey, when I get back, that's mine because I called it. I call that chair. I didn't realize this only worked at home. I thought this was a universal system, you know. My first day in school was very strange. I call this desk. I call this desk. My teacher's like, yes, we all do, Brian. I'm like, I'm just grabbing onto it. I don't know why we did it at home anyway, because my older brothers always took whatever they wanted. Like when we were all getting in the car, I knew where I was going to end up sitting, so I would pretend like I wanted that. Back seat, in the middle, my feet on the hump. I called it, get off the hump. Hey, my hump. I believe the hump is mine. I think my parents were kind of worried about me. He's calling the hump, Walt. He shouldn't want the hump. As long as I ain't fighting. Hump's good, right, Ron? Oh, the hump's good, yeah. You like the hump. I love the hump. I'm the hump boy. I'm riding a hump to Disney World.
All right, bit of Brian Regan, classic funny man. If you're ever looking for some good family-friendly comedy, I recommend Brian Regan because he's a good guy. He talks a lot about growing up and childhood and stuff we can all relate to. So, all right, we're back. This is me, Mr. Levin, on the Alternation. I'm joined by Mr. Marcel and Miss Amanda. We're talking about community issues and the like. So, yeah, the big thing we were talking about in the first segment, first half hour of the show, we're talking about community curfews and the idea of, you know, a private security. Would you want a private security company in your neighborhood coming around and picking up kids who are out past 8 p.m. and taking them home and potentially calling CFS? So any comments on that before we start?
As someone who, you know, on a personal basis, I don't live in that community, but if I did, you know, the idea of someone who is private security seizing my child when my child doesn't know them, they could be someone dressing up as a security guard for all I know. You know, I don't know them personally, and I don't want a stranger, whether they're in a uniform or not, acting on my child unless they saw a serious health or safety issue or something going on. You know, I don't want my children being trained to just go with people because they have a badge and a uniform, you know.
Do you have anything to say about that?
That actually has been a concern of one of our parents that Marcel is speaking of, is that people coming in uniform and children thinking they have to go because that person has told them and they're in a security uniform. So that has been a concern that some parents have addressed.
And there's been concerns lately in the news, especially about CFS as an organization and how responsible it is. And especially what I often hear is just about like how fast acting they are because it's such a large organization with so many cases and so few staff. You know, whenever someone goes into the CFS system, they get tied up for months and months, and it's very slow for anything to happen. And this is very traumatic when children are separated from their families and all this.
An interesting point that our society came across, speaking in particularly about CFS, which ties into the private security as well as Canada as a government, is that they all fall under corporate jurisdiction. Both CFS, Canada Incorporated, which is actually registered in Washington, and these private security companies, because it's all under a corporate jurisdiction, communities themselves are unincorporated by nature. So it's allowing a stranger who's not only a stranger, but it's also a corporate stranger that's using corporate rules in your community that don't necessarily have to apply. And as a community, as long as you cause no harm, you have the right to decide what you want in the community without strangers influencing it. But communities need to be proactive, and that's a weak skill that communities, that's what our society is trying to do, is just get them stronger at that.
Yeah, so what can communities do to sort of police themselves or to deal with directly with the issues that people are concerned about? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I coordinate the COPP program. It's Citizens on Patrol program, and currently we have 5 volunteers, 3 are which Manitoba Housing tenants and 2 that just live in the neighborhood. We have 192 units, on average 5 people living in a home, and we have 5 volunteers. So why we can't rely on our neighbors as opposed to a private security company to keep our neighborhoods safe is the issue that we've come to.
Mm-hmm. So if what you're saying is if there were more people who volunteered for community programs, community watches, you would be able to be a lot more effective?
Most definitely. To have more block parents, safe havens for our children to go. Just in general, people putting in the time and the effort to make their own community safe. We're relying on outside resources as opposed to the resources we have in our own communities.
And just to touch on that, thank you, Amanda, very much for coming to talk about this. Peacemaker Society, within the work that we're doing, we're starting to, as an unincorporated organization, work with citizen groups that do fall under the corporate jurisdiction and kind of work together. We have a program called our Advocate Patrol Program, where we have people who circulate and actually advocate for citizens' rights, as well as help out with any health or safety issues that they would come across as well. Something that you brought up is just not having enough people. That's an issue our society has had, and some of the things we've done as well. What we're doing to help bridge that is just combining some gifts that go with people being on shifts, and something that you're touching on. We're so used to strangers coming in to regulate our communities that it can be a little tough getting people to be proactive in their own community sometimes as someone trying to help out. At least that's been my experience. Do you find that as well?
I agree.
Because the main thing that you need to do if you're policing a community and looking after kids who might be staying out late and getting up to mischief, and if that's your concern, what you need in a community like that is you need people who know the issues of the community, and that I see that as being sort of the main concern here, is that a outside party comes into the neighborhood, they don't know the situations, the histories of the families and everything that goes on in the neighborhood, and then they make decisions based on just observations that might be out of context.
I agree, and something else that our society kind of nailed as a pinpoint factor in whether you have safe communities or not is how the families are doing. When you study this, you learn to have a healthy society, you need to have healthy families, and to have healthy families, you need parents at home. Everyone's struggling to make ends meet, so you have one or both parents out working. Kids are out of the home into school system by the time they're 3 to 5 years old. So what our society is doing is we're really launching a whole bunch of committees in the spring, from advocacy to free babysitting programs to you name it. I'm going to do a little plug here. You can email us at peacemakersociety@live.com. If you're an administrator, you have any background in community work or anything like that. And through those kind of programs, we need to get people doing community to themselves instead of having it done to them. And that's kind of the goal, and that's what you're doing, Amanda, in your own work there, and I applaud you for it.
Yeah, Amanda, do you have any programs that you want to plug on air, or do you want to talk about let's just imagine that there's someone from your community listening right now. Do you have a message that you want to give to them in terms of what they could do to get involved?
There's a lot of programs they can get involved in. The first thing that comes to my mind, though, is safety is in our own hands, and we need to address that, and people need to realize that by sitting inside, we're not keeping anything safe. There's always room for them to become COPP members. The time is whenever they need to go. At any time of the day is up to them. Same as block parents. Currently, I'm the only one in a 3-mile radius for any child to go to. I'm not home 24 hours a day, so that timeline now for them is, in the evening. That's about it. But during the day, walking to school, anything, there's safety issues. They have nowhere to go. So people just need to make more of an effort to keep their own community safe. That goes for every community, not just Elwick community.
And having people who live in the community walking around, even if it's not part of a program, but just if you go out for walks, walk the dog at night, keep an eye out on, talk to your neighbors, all that stuff.
Yeah, you can even use a vehicle if you like. It's, and you're just eyes and ears just to make sure everybody's safe. I've been in the community now 15 years. So when I do see kids, I can call them by name and tell them, guys, it's time to go home. It's not, it's time. So it makes a difference when it is coming from somebody than an outside source.
All right. Did we want to get, I guess, any closing comments about that before we start talking about CFS and Phoenix Sinclair story?
For sure. One final comment I would like to make is there's nothing wrong with having security forces. There's nothing wrong with peace officers. It only becomes a problem when it's under a corporate jurisdiction and it acts on you when you haven't done an indictable offense. You haven't harmed on anyone, and it comes and interferes with your rights. That's now violating you. And that just ties into with something called the Clearfield Doctrine.
Okay.
If anyone wants to look it up, it just says anytime governments are acting as a corporation, they're no longer a government, and they're bound to the same rules as any corporation, which means you have to have full disclosure and you have to voluntarily contract. If they make you contract, they are violating your rights unless they saw you hurt somebody or something.
It's that whole idea that a corporation is a corporation, just like McDonald's is a corporation or Walmart.
Exactly.
If you don't go in there to buy their stuff, they don't really get to say how the transaction goes.
Exactly. If you don't work for, say...
And if you don't like the way Walmart does things, you have the option of walking away from Walmart.
Exactly. If you're not a Walmart employee, they have no right to regulate what you do in their store, whether you're inside or out, again, as long as you're not stealing or causing harm. And that's something that actually worldwide, there's a whole truth and freedom movement happening all around the world in Greece and Egypt. And what the world's woken up to is that we actually just have corporations as a government. Canada is Canada Inc., and it's registered in Washington. And this Clearfield Doctrine, which is case law, you can look it up, it says anytime a government goes into corporatehood or corporate statehood, it is no longer a government. So our society, Peacemaker Society, we are a de jure government. We are founded by 3 people, mutual consent. That's a valid society. We've been recognized by the government at this point, and we're going into direct competition with them this spring with unincorporated programs. A lot of the problems that are happening economically, socially, crime-wise, are being done deliberately to people. And again, if corporations can make it, you have a weak family and a weak community, then you need their insurance, you need their protection, and they can profit from you. If you have a strong community, you don't need anyone else taking care of you. If you grow your own food, if you have your own health care, if you have your own peace officers, and it's everyone that you've known your whole life that's grown up with you. You know, if your mom and dad was beside you and someone tried to punch you out or assault you, never happen. And that's basically my point, is just unincorporated rights versus corporate.
And do you have any final comments, Amanda?
No, just everybody needs to put in an effort to make things different. If you're just going to sit back, then you're not going to see any change, and you're not going to be a part of that change.
All right, so we wanted to talk about this Phoenix Sinclair story because it's one of those stories that really ought to be big news, but just sort of gets mentioned on the news as part of the news cycle, and then it's sort of forgotten about afterwards. But it's a case that has really raised a lot of questions about standards and practices in social work organizations like CFS. And it's that whole idea of how much can an institution really care about the people in its charge, because at the end of the day, these are people who come to work a job to collect a paycheck, and if they have more cases than they can really handle, people fall through the wayside. So Aaron has a clip queued up that I found on YouTube. It's taken from CBC News, the news report in 2009, when the Phoenix Sinclair trial came in. So it's got all the details of the case. We're just going to play it for the audience. They can so they're informed about the basics of this. So Aaron, do you mind playing that?
I sure don't.
Thanks.
First-degree murder trial in Winnipeg has heard testimony describing a life of brutality endured by a 5-year-old girl. And a warning, many of the details are disturbing. Phoenix Sinclair died 3 years ago. Her mother and the mother's common-law husband are on trial. Joining us with more on the story is Canadian Press reporter Chinta Puxley in Winnipeg. So, Chinta, just tell us more about what we've heard so far in trial today.
Well, we've just heard horrific details. As you mentioned, they are very disturbing to listen to. We heard the youngest son of Carl McKay, who's the common-law husband, start his testimony today. He testified that he saw Phoenix Sinclair just brutally beaten with a metal rod, with a broken fridge handle, that she was often left in a very dirty basement as punishment because she used to soil herself. He said she was often ill, and he testified that he saw her actually being forced to eat her own vomit at one point by her guardians, getting a bloody nose in the process. The day before she died, he said he testified that Phoenix was brutally beaten in the basement and just left there.
Well, this kind of testimony it's just it's monstrous. But beyond the actual testimony, there is supposed to be a video shown to the jury today. What do we know about what is in this video? What might it reveal?
Well, we actually saw a video yesterday. It was a police video of the interrogation of Samantha Keymatch. And this morning it was discussed whether or not to release that video to the media. That decision is still pending. But what we saw was a very emotional apology, in fact, that Samantha Keymatch gave once a police officer left the interrogation room, in which she apologized to her daughter and said that she loved her and that none of this was meant to happen.
Obviously, all of this information difficult for the jury to process. If, in the end, though, the allegations are proven to be true, this is clearly more than just a case of parental neglect or abuse. Did social services suspect anything before the child went missing?
Yes, I believe she was taken from the home, but she was returned there. And so this may well be the subject of a public inquiry after the trial has concluded.
And has anybody speculated as to how it was possible that no one knew she was missing until 10 months after she disappeared?
Well, we haven't had much speculation up to that point. Obviously, there were some concerns, and people did have some suspicions. The reason why she was finally discovered was because welfare investigators went looking for her and wanted some confirmation that she was in fact still with the family. So they obviously had some suspicion that something had happened, and we heard earlier testimony that in fact Samantha Keymatch was arrested because at the time she agreed to meet a welfare investigator at a Winnipeg mall and allegedly tried to pass off another child as Phoenix. But when the welfare investigator asked the child, "Are you Phoenix Sinclair?" the child said no.
Okay.
And that's when she was arrested.
Chinta, thanks very much for the latest on the trial.
Thank you.
Chinta Puxley of Canadian Press reporting from Winnipeg.
All right, so we're back here. That's the CBC News report from 2009 about Phoenix Sinclair and the trial, and it's a real horror story. I mean, that's they don't make horror movies that are as scary as that. I think, but to me, this kind of issue gets right down to it. We, I think, as a society, need to look at these dark places, and ask ourselves, how does this happen, and what can we put into communities to strengthen them, to prevent stuff like this happening. So any thoughts on this so far?
Just first of all, things like this just absolutely break my heart. It's part of why our society does the work we do. These problems have existed for a long time.
It's almost understandable that people want to ignore it when they hear it. Their first instinct is to ignore it because it's just so horrifying.
It's so atrocious. For the first 2 or 3 years that I really started studying all of this stuff, the only way I could describe it is it's like getting kicked in the stomach and the groin at the exact same moment. You know, it just hits you in that kind of way, and you have to care enough to look and listen anyway. You know, the only real travesty is that stuff like this happens and people look the other way. You know, for me personally, anywhere I am, it's my job to keep people safe. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're somewhere and you're not in a position, if you try and help, you're going to get hurt too. Like if someone's getting assaulted or something like that, don't do it. But in my personal life, and I'm not telling anyone to be like me, but within that, you know, I've personally stopped people from getting raped in hallways. I've broken up fights. I've been thanked by the not district attorney, but the Crown prosecutor's office, things like that. You know, bad things only happen when good people do nothing, and there's way more good people than there are. Even the people who are bad, it's usually a weak moment, you know, and that's where if you have a strong community, you have people there beside you, both on the people doing the bad stuff to support them, and if you're living next door to Phoenix Sinclair and you've known her your whole life and you know that family and you see that stuff going on, maybe you can get in there before it takes an agency 10 months to notice.
It's having those community supports.
And if either of you were in Phoenix Sinclair's neighborhood and were her neighbor, what do you think you would do? Would you call CFS if you saw that?
For 4 years now, I've had an oath in my society that I can't cause harm. So at this point in my life, really, all you can do is try and get into their mind, understand who's in their world.
So you would go and talk to the parents?
I would talk to them first. I'd let them know I knew what was going on. It wasn't going to be acceptable. It better stop now, or I take whatever action was within my means, whether that's raising public awareness. In my younger teenage days, I might have talked to a buddy. I don't do that anymore, but I'm just saying if something's happened to a kid like that, it's a bigger crime not to do anything about it. And again, I'm not promoting vigilantism. There is the law. I do respect that. But at the same time, if you see an indictable offense, something happening that's harm, everyone's a peace officer, period.
And just bringing the subject to light alone, you're adding attention on her that she probably wouldn't have wanted, the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring that awareness, and unneeded attention is never wanted. And something could have stopped. Whether she was still properly being taken care of, she probably still wouldn't have been harmed, though, any further because of the awareness about it now.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got one more clip that we can play that's more recent from September of this year. It was Free Press TV's talking to Sherry Walsh. She's involved with the inquiry for Phoenix Sinclair. So this is just a little bit more recent context. Aaron, take it away.
I'm very happy with the way today went. I'm very glad that we finally started and that we've heard from our first few witnesses, and I think that the witnesses that we heard from today set a good framework for the evidence that we're going to hear from now on.
Can you just tell us a little bit about why it's important to kind of understand some of the inner workings of, say, the case system?
Because you're going to hear from a number of social workers who are going to describe what they did and why. And this way you won't have to stop them and say, well, you worked for intake, what does that mean? Or, why did you do this or why did you do that? What options? I mean, there will be some of that, but at least everyone will have a basic understanding of the evidence that we're going to hear.
What will they expect to hear in evidence tomorrow?
So tomorrow morning we're starting with the first SOR, or source of referral, the first person who phoned the Child and Family Services system to notify them of Phoenix's birth and the fact that she might be in need of protection. And then we'll hear from the social workers who followed up on that call. So we're getting right into the services that were delivered to Phoenix and her family from the moment that she was born.
All right, so that is Winnipeg Free Press TV, and that was Sherry Walsh commenting on the first day of the Phoenix Sinclair inquiry, and that was back in September. So, it's really interesting to me to think about kids in a housing project, Manitoba Housing, in having a curfew at 8 o'clock and being taken home by private security company and then put through the CFS system. When CFS, the kind of cases they need to be concentrating on, I think, are the ones where there are severe,
like Phoenix
abuse,
Sinclair, things like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like if they can't handle those kind of responsibilities, they shouldn't be taking on some sort of more minor misdemeanor type things.
Agreed.
Any thoughts on that?
No, completely agreed. There's too many bigger issues here that we can't justify the time we're spending on little issues of somebody not being in by 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that I think is important to bring to light that we've learned from the work we've been doing as a society as well with Peacemaker Society is, with it being a corporate system, everything that gets signed is paperwork that's worth money. So by doing all these frivolous things like curfews and stuff like that, it's generating profit for them. And it's really the profit they care about more than taking care of anybody. And by being a corporate system, they're limited liability, which means ultimately unaccountable. For our society, if we had a program like that and something slipped, as the signatory, myself, I'm personally liable for every penny of harm that happened if our program wasn't run properly. Now, you compare that to a corporate program, it's whoever the signatory is, it's the insurance companies, and it's $1 million payout at most because they're protected with insurance.
All right, so yeah, those are interesting things to think about. And so, yeah, I guess we'll get back to some music. Those are all good stuff. I wanted to play a track from Frank Zappa's rock opera album that he produced called Joe's Garage. It's an album entirely about censorship, and it takes place in an imaginary world where the government has outlawed music, and artists are persecuted for playing music. And so it's an interesting commentary on the idea of censorship and whatnot. So here it is, Joe's Garage. Check it out on the Alternation CKW 95.9 FM. Thank you for listening.
This is the Central Scrutinizer. It is my responsibility to enforce all the laws that haven't been passed yet. It is also my responsibility to alert each and every one of you to the potential consequences of various ordinary, everyday activities you might be performing, which could eventually lead to the death penalty or affect your parents' credit rating. Our criminal institutions are full of little creeps like you who do wrong things. And many of them were driven to these crimes by a horrible force called music. Our studies have shown that this horrible force is so dangerous to society at large that laws are being drawn up at this very moment to stop it forever. Cruel and inhuman punishments are being carefully described in tiny paragraphs so they won't conflict with the Constitution, which itself is being modified in order to accommodate the future. I bring you now a special presentation to show what can happen to you if you choose a career in music. The white zone is for loading and unloading only. If you have to load or unload, go to the white zone. You'll love it. It's a way of life. Hi, it's me. I'm back. This is the Central Scrutinizer. We take you now to a garage in Canoga Park.
It wasn't very large. There was just enough room to cram the drums in the corner over by the Dodge. It was a 54 with a mashed up door and a cheesy little lamp, with a sign on the front said Fender Champ and a second-hand guitar. It was a Stratocaster with a whammy bar.
We could jam in Joe's garage. His mama was screaming, his dad was mad. We was playing the same old song in the afternoon, and sometimes we would play it all night long. It was all we knew, and easy too, so we wouldn't get it wrong. All we did was bend the string like, hey, down in Joe's garage. We didn't have no dope or LSD, but a couple of quarts of beer would fix it so the intonation would not offend your ear. And the same old chords going over and over became a symphony. We could play it again and again and again, 'cause it sounded good to me. One more time. We could jam in Joe's garage. His mama was screaming, turn it down. We was playing the same old song in the afternoon, and sometimes we would play it all night long. It was all we knew, and easy too, so we wouldn't get it wrong. Even if you played it on the saxophone. We thought we was pretty good. We talked about keeping the band together, and we figured that we should. 'Cause about this time we was getting the eye from the girls in the neighborhood. They'd all come over and dance around like, so we picked out a stupid name, had some cards printed up for a couple of bucks, and we was on our way to fame. Got matching suits and Beatle boots and a sign on the back of the car, and we was ready to work in a go-go bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, let's see if you've got some more. People seem to like our song. They got up and danced and made a lot of noise, and it wasn't for very long. A guy from a company we can't name said we ought to take his pen and sign on the line for a real good time, but he didn't tell us when. These good times would be something that was really happening. So the band broke up, and it looks like we will never play again.
Guess you only get one chance in life to play a song that goes like, well, the years is rolling by. Heavy metal and little rock and talk the public eye. Sonny boy with lipstick on, really flying high. But then they got that disco thing and New Wave came along. And all of a sudden our brother time had come for that old song. We used to play it just right, and if I am not wrong, you will soon be dancing to the
Amateur Hour, where bad is good and worse is even better. Tune into The Insanity every Wednesday at 5 p.m. here on CKUW 95.9 FM.
Human absurdity.
Join Make Poverty history in standing up to end poverty at home and abroad.
Stand with millions of others around the world and calling politicians to account.
Get up, stand up.
In 2000, Canada joined leaders from across the globe and promised to end poverty within one generation.
But still, 1 billion people will go to bed hungry every night.
And 3.5 million Canadians live in poverty.
Get up, stand up.
Canada is losing ground in the fight against poverty.
I suppose they must not have thought we'd care, but we do.
Millions of people around the world are standing up.
Canada can stand up too. Will you?
Go to www.makepovertyhistory.ca to add your voice.
Stand up to make poverty history.
Stand up! Stand up! Stand up!
CKW.ca is the website, and radio.alternation@gmail.com is the email address. If you want to contribute content, clips, movie stuff, newspaper articles. Mr. Marcel has contributed stuff over the months that he's been in contact with us. So we're just going to say goodnight here. Thanks to anyone who's been tuning in for the last 90 minutes or so.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on the show there, Levin, as well as Amanda. I'm just speaking for myself here. Just a few key words for people if you want to look into it. Remember the Clearfield Doctrine and case law, stating governments, if they descend into corporatism, they're not a government. And again, Peacemaker Society, we're going to competition with all corporate governments worldwide this spring 2013. Email us, peacemakersociety@live.com. Please apply. And we have spots and positions for everybody.
So thank you very much to Amanda for coming out tonight.
Thanks for having me.
It's been good, stimulating conversation, I feel. We may not have solved any issues, but at least hopefully we've been talking about them, and hopefully other people will be talking about them too.
And thank you for providing a platform to talk about them, Levin.
All right, so we got one last pick to play off your playlist, Marcel. You want to talk about Ugly Kid Joe's Cats in the Cradle?
For sure. Levin and I have talked about this song a little bit previously. I'm 33 now. I was about 14, 15 when I started hearing it, and I grew up in a bit of a broken family, stepdad and that, and didn't feel like a priority growing up. So by the time I hit teenagehood, they expect you to care and be involved in their plans for life. But as a child, if you feel like you're leftovers, by the time you hit teenagehood, in my case anyway, I didn't really care, and I don't have a great relationship with my own family. This song speaks to that, and I think it's something that more people than not are going through in today's.
It's a song about intergenerational neglect, which is a big core issue that's at a lot of the other social problems that we have. So here it is. So thank you to everybody tuning in. We'll catch you next week on the Alternation. Here's Ugly Kid Joe, Cats in the Cradle.
Day came to the world in the usual way, but there were planes to catch and bills to pay. He learned to walk while I was away. He was talking before I knew it, and as he grew, he said, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. Well, my son turned 10 just the other day. Said thanks for the ball, Dad, come on, let's play. Could you teach me to throw? I said, not today, I got a lot to do. He said, that's okay, and he walked away and smiled, and he said, you know, I'm gonna be like him, yeah. You know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue with the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. Just the other day, so much like a man, I just had to say, I'm proud of you, could you sit for a while? He shook his head and he said with a smile, what I'm feeling like, Dad, is to borrow the car keys. See you later, can I have them please? And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man on the moon. When you're coming home, son, I don't know when we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. I've long since retired, my son's moved away. I called him up just the other day. To see you if you don't mind. He said I'd love to, Dad, if I could find the time. You see my new job's a hassling the kids at the flu, but it's sure nice talking to you, Dad. It's been sure nice talking to you. As I hung up the phone, it occurred to me he'd grown up just like me. My boy was just like me. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little more blue in the man on the moon. When you coming home, son, I don't know where. We'll get together there. You know we'll have a good time there. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little more blue in the man on the moon. When you coming home, son, I don't know where. We'll get together there. You know we'll have a good time there.
And the road leads you down from here, far away from the bramble clear. And I quote to you from my heart, making marks, making marks, making marks. And we swim in the muddy pool, watch some kids in an old canoe. Carved your name